Before you check out this video, I just wanted to let you know that this is part 2 and part 1 was released earlier, where we discuss other teams further, etc, etc. So check that out if you want. Mainly just wanted to warn you that this is a part 2, and that's why we don't even bother with saying hello or sending any sort of salutations or greetings at the beginning of the video. We're not assholes. We just had a ton of footage to work with. What I thought would be a 20-minute video turned into an hour and a half. So yeah, enjoy. Alright, Manchester United. Now this is a big contentious one, because at the beginning of the season, if you asked me how they did, I would have said, great, bring in any team that brings in Lukaku, Matic, and Lindelof. He has quality, I promise you. I've seen it as a Benfica fan. Any team that brings in those 3 players has done a good job. Now, Lindelof started off super shaky, Lukaku was flying, Matic has been good the entire season. Now it's almost like they're going in opposite directions if we're talking Lindelof and Lukaku, because Lindelof's starting to get his confidence and doing well. Lukaku, though he did just score today against CSKA Moscow, that's still only 2 goals in 13 games.
Yeah, I'm not so worried about Lukaku. You know, I feel like with Jose Mourinho, there's certain elements that he values, and a lot of it's just hold-up play. Can you hold up the ball with 2 guys on your back? That
Sometimes
allows...
no.
Well, yeah. I would say that he could be better at it, but there are times where I'm really impressed with his hold-up play, and that he got to kind of square up his body in a way that he could play a through ball, and I don't think he gets appreciated as much as he should for those little things. So I don't think that goal production is the only thing that should matter when it comes to Romelu Lukaku. Is the team still creating chances, even if he's not? Is he still providing support in those positions that are allowing other guys to get in good positions? You know, that type of stuff, which I know Jose Mourinho values and takes into consideration. So Lukaku is always going to go through a dip in form. Every striker does. There are only a rare few that can go through a season scoring consistently. So I'm not really worried about Lukaku. Lindelof has been fantastic since he got back from qualifying for the World Cup with Sweden. He just had this renewed sense of confidence that you know what? I am a Manchester United player. I am good enough to be here. When he first came in, it just felt like he was unsure of himself. Yeah. And then the pressure comes in, and then he has one bad preseason game, and then everybody's on him, and all of a sudden he's on the radar, and people are like, he sucks. And it's hard if you're reading that stuff, or your friends are reading that stuff, or your family's reading that stuff, for it not to get back to you in some capacity. And that takes a while to shake. And then obviously you got to get caught up with the speed of play. I mean, it seemed like the speed of play was a little bit too much for him on a consistent basis. But yeah, he's figured it out. And full credit to him, of course, but to Mourinho for continuing to roll him out and testing him and making it happen. And I think he'll end up being a solid defender for them for many years to come. Now with Matic, whatever itch, he is going to be, for me, one of the steals of the transfer window. I mean, the fact that Chelsea, I just said it. I understand if you want to move him, but don't let him go to Manchester United. No. You know, but that was good, shrewd business. I think that was a decision that was made almost emotionally from Chelsea or Antonio Conte's like, whatever. I'll just that's fine if he goes to Mourinho. We're still gonna be better than him. Almost arrogant. Yeah. You know, Mourinho's like, take him. We got him, and I think he's been one of the most important players for the team moving forward. And it's allowed Paul Pogba to be more box to box and not have to worry about sitting in front of the back four. And not that he can't do that, but now he's freed of that responsibility. And it's made a big difference for that whole club. It's
almost as if by signing Matic, you got a new signing in Paul Pogba. Yeah, really. He was completely different than he was last season when he wasn't having to play as defensive and he had free to roam. He's the guy that, when you thought of Paul Pogba at Juventus, you know, you always saw highlights of him just spraying the ball around because he had Pirlo behind him holding it down. Right. So yeah, I mean, Paul Pogba has been completely elevated by Matic, and I think that I think he was arguably their most important signing. Now, the question of their left back situation, because Jose Mourinho made it very clear that he wanted another left back. Do you trust Luke Shaw? I mean, he did play this week against CSKA, and he was pretty good.
I don't think Luke Shaw is a Manchester United player. I actually don't think Marwan Fellaini is a Manchester United player, but he does serve a role, especially in the league that he's playing in, right? He can have a lot of success there. And so he's kind of grown on me as a Manchester United player. And I'm saying this is not a Manchester United fan, but there's a certain kind of player that I think that, you know, I grew up watching all the great Manchester United teams. And so you kind of associate the type of quality that you should see when you're wearing a Manchester United jersey. Fellaini's not one of those players. Luke Shaw, for me, has his moments, but I just don't feel like his soccer IQ is very high. I think he runs on instinct, but when he has to think and maybe move within a system and being asked to do certain things, he's like, whoa, wait, what? You want me what? That's just my vibe on him. I could be completely wrong. He might be Albert Einstein out there. But that's just the sense that I get. They have Ashley Young, And to reference Manchester City again, with Fabian Delph, they're putting a right-sided player at left back.
Yeah.
And it's worked to great effect. You have good professionals playing in these positions. They know their job. They're not trying to do anything more than they're capable of. You know, Ashley Young continues to grow in confidence. He's a real leader of the team now. Now he's vital on set pieces. And I think that kind of swagger that he brings, not that Delph has that, but Ashley Young has, makes a difference in the team. You know, and so that gives, I don't know, Anthony Martial, who's been, I think, finally playing to his potential this season, gives him some more confidence. And you just kind of get to feed off of each other. And I think Mourinho's done an excellent job of finally getting his team to coalesce and buy in on what he wants to do. Now, it's a whole different conversation to talk about how defensive that is at times.
Yes.
Whereas I think we can all appreciate Pep and his aesthetic of like keeping possession, but possession with purpose.
Yeah.
Whereas Mourinho's more, you know,
strangle him.
Yeah, counter-attack with purpose, you know, and so that leads to some games that you're like, can I have those 90 minutes back in my life? But I do appreciate the success that Mourinho has and his pragmatism and how he can get. The guy's a winner. That's the best way to say it. He knows how to win games. But yeah, I think Manchester United overall did fine. What they can do in the January transfer window? I asked the question that he wanted to talk about. Wait, what? Am I taking this over? I'm sorry. There's probably a place in midfield that plays off of Pogba and Matic a little bit. There might be room there. You know, they got Juan Mata, Ander Herrera. They've got these guys, but Mourinho doesn't seem to trust them. I think Martial, Rashford, and Lukaku are probably your front three going forward. You got Matic and Pogba. I think those five are for sure in.
Mata's in there somewhere.
Maybe. But I mean, maybe there's another guy you can go get. I know Goretzka is a guy that they've looked at that could fill that spot. Yeah. Maybe you can add another center back. I like Lindelof.
Rojo's back.
Rojo's back. Bailly, I went and watched him play when they played against Spurs. That guy can't pass the ball to save his life. Just can't pass the ball. I watched his movement off the ball, how he's moving. He's pretty good defensively, staying within the group. He's just a freak athlete. He's just so good and so athletic. Physical. Oh, you just can't. I don't even know how guys get past him. Yeah, he just grabs an arm and you can't move. So I understand his value, and I think he could have success. But he's no, Nemanja Vidic, who kind of brought that, but also brought some leadership. I just don't feel like Bailly's got that necessarily that big leadership quality that I think you need to have if you're going to be a center back, especially with a club as big as Manchester United.
No, that's the thing. As far as center backs, so like typically, I mean, United in the past, when you think of their leaders, you think of Vidic, you think of Ferdinand, big hulking defenders that were very vocal. You don't see that in their center backs. I mean, there's Chris Smalling, but really, are you going to make him your captain?
Phil Jones.
There's Phil Jones. You can't make a meme your captain.
Yeah, I mean, Smalling I think has come into the role a little bit. But yeah, he seems to be a guy that leads by example as opposed to like speaking. So it'll be interesting to see. I think Mourinho could make some moves. Will he? Unless there's
not a January transfer guy.
I would really look defensively at this point. I'd try to move Luke Shaw. Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna make a few moves to get some guys out, then you might want to bring somebody else in. But I don't know. If I'm a Manchester United fan, I'm pretty pleased.
Yeah, I think so too. Sticking with England, let's look at Chelsea now because they brought in a few players. Some good signings, but also I think they were guilty of one homegrown padding signing in Danny Drinkwater. But they also brought in the midfield Timo Bakayoko from AS Monaco, who I think has been decent. They got Zappacosta in from the Serie A.
Alvaro Morata.
That's
a pretty big one.
Yeah, that's a huge one, replacing Diego Costa, who I will admit, I didn't think that Alvaro Morata would be the best signing for them because I thought that they still needed that physical presence of Diego Costa, but
I agree.
Alvaro Morata has been excellent. His movement, his heading, top.
Yeah, he's been very good. They also brought in Antonio Rudiger.
From
Roma to help kind of fill out the back line. He hasn't played as much, or I haven't seen him play as much as I thought he was going to play when they signed him.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to Alvaro Morata. He's been good. He's been really good. He surprised me. Not because of his movement, but just because I thought the Premier League was a little bit too physical. But how he's created space, his kind of class and movement inside the box have been excellent. I still believe, though, that Chelsea made a mistake by getting rid of Diego Costa. I feel like they miss having an a-hole in their team who you can't stand if he's on any other team, but if he's on your team, you love him. Because he kicks, he fights, he spits, he scratches. He's got to do what he does whatever he has to do to win games.
Yeah.
As much as I believe that Alvaro Morata is a better player, technically and probably tactically, than Diego Costa, Alvaro Morata is a pretty boy. You can just tell by his hair. Diego Costa, he might have not taken a shower for days and just rolled out there. He doesn't care. He's gonna, and I feel like Chelsea misses that. a little bit of that bite. I don't even know if those current guys on the team actually liked him, but I think they did appreciate what he brought to the table. And that's hurt Chelsea a little bit. And I think the uncertainty of not knowing whether he was going to come back or not threw off the first part of their season.
For sure.
Because he was their guy. He was their focal point, and all of a sudden he's taken away, and Morata comes in, and I'm sure Morata, well, they play together on the Spanish national team, like, what do I do here? You know, even if they weren't friends, they're still acquaintances. They still see each other. They probably know the same people. So there's just a lot of that. And now Chelsea's behind, I don't know, 11 points or whatever it is, that if Costa had been in the team and the communication would have been good, and if Antonio Conte's ego could have not been in the way, or that's what it seems like, this big pissing contest, I bet Chelsea's only 5 or 6 points back and within striking distance of Man City. And now it's going to be really hard for them to compete this year.
Do you think there's any gaps in their squad that they need to fill?
Well, it would be nice for them to get Diego Costa back.
Yeah.
but somebody of that kind of...
A little more grit.
Yeah, a little more grit. And that can be in any part of the field. I love N'Golo Kante, so it's not his area. Yeah. I know they're looking for a left back. Alexandro from Juventus has been kind of pegged to take over for Marcos Alonso. But every time you start to hear some rumors about left back, Marcos Alonso scores like a worldly goal, or he like does 5 assists in one game. Or I mean, hat tip to him, you know? I mean, he keeps fighting off the pressure and performing well. But I don't know, center back, I mean, David Luiz might be on the outs, right? Antonio Conte, for, you know, he just seems like one of those managers where his biggest strengths are also his biggest weaknesses.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that's hurting Chelsea this year. And I think the guys are like, oh man, another year of this psycho. And I mean that in the best possible way, because I feel like it's used to great effect for Antonio Conte. But I can see at times where it seems like for the players it's a little grating. Which is interesting, because they were cool with Mourinho when he first came back for his second stint with Chelsea, and they won the title. And then the second year, they totally, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it was weird that they flipped the switch that quick. And then Conte came in, they won the league, and then this year it's like, you know, what's the deal? In the second year with some of these Chelsea players. So I don't know. There's a lot to explore there. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you think there's anybody they can go get into any areas? I don't know.
I don't think so. I think that the resurgence of Willian lately has been huge for them.
That's true.
Because he started off, he was looking a little pudgy, he was looking a little off, he wasn't looking like himself. But I mean, now we saw him in the Champions League this past day, and he was just running at the defense over and over and over against Atletico Madrid, and he's looking lethal. In defense, I think, I mean, if it is true that David Luiz is going to be leaving, then of course they need to get another center back. Because you can't just rely on Rudiger, who's been fine, and Gary Cahill, who's, you know, their captain, and he's a great defender, but there's always a mistake in him or an own goal in him.
Also, we should mention that Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang has been linked to Chelsea. And that would be an interesting signing for me, because where do you play him? You know, he almost takes the Willian role, and that would be really unfair to Willian. But if that does happen, then I assume Willian's going to go somewhere else. Or do you play? I don't think you play a 2. I think Alvaro Morata's still your 9, and then you run him off. You run those guys off of him. Or you have Hazard on one side and Aubameyang. Wouldn't that be crazy? Morata, Hazard, and Aubameyang. And not to take away anything from Willian, who I think is a terrific player, but Aubameyang, when motivated, is easily one of the best players in the world. He's just got to be properly motivated.
No more England, at least for now. We're going to jump to Germany, Borussia Dortmund. They brought in a lot of players. They brought in a lot of players this time, but they also brought in a new manager in Peter Bosz, former Ajax manager. He got them to the finals. He didn't manage to win anything with Ajax, but here's the thing. I think that all the players they signed were in the classic Borussia Dortmund ilk, you know, young, promising talent, and then they turn into a Lewandowski, or they turn into Mario Götze, or whatever. But Peter Bosz, is he the right guy for this team?
I would say at the start, it seemed like it.
It did.
You know, they won, I think, with the first 7 or 8 games and didn't give up a goal and just were cruising. I mean, they were easily the best team in the Bundesliga. Bayern Munich was going through a little bit of trouble with Ancelotti and just trying to figure out who they were going to be. And then I feel like they had 1 or 2 bad games. And maybe just, actually, not even 1 or 2 bad games, like 1 or 2 bad plays that led to goals. And it just felt like they capitulated. Like the whole thing just fell apart. It's like this whole house of cards. And it has to fall on Peter Bosz a little bit. It can't all be on the players. The players, of course, have to take some responsibility because they're the ones out there trying to execute his game plan. But what I don't like about his style is that he plays a very high line, and teams figured it out. You know, for a while, teams were like, all right, we'll try to play out of this pressure, and they got punished. And then once they started to have some success, that just, I think, allowed Peter Bosz to double down. Oh, we're going to really high pressure now. Like, we got this all figured out. I'm the best manager in the whole entire world. And then teams are like, no, we're just going to play a couple dinks over the top, and then we'll see what you're made of. They make a few mistakes with that, and it seems like the defenders got a little shaky and probably didn't want to play that high line anymore. I feel like in some capacity, the players are not sold on his formation. And I would say that too. There was a time where I was with the team. I will leave the name and team, the name of the coach and the team and the year unnamed, but we were playing such a high line. Well, what are we doing? We're risking way too much to play this high of a line. Right. We don't really have the personnel, and if you have guys on the field that aren't pressuring the ball adequately, then you might as well not hold a high line. I mean, that is like center back 101. If there's pressure on the ball, then you can get tight to your attacker and make sure it's very difficult for him. But if there's no pressure on the ball, you got to drop. And I just feel like they're inviting a lot of stuff. And as a player, if you know that it's not working, and you're trying to fight it but also listen to him, it becomes hard. And I think I honestly think that's what you're seeing. And I think it's going to be hard for Borussia Dortmund to fight their way out if he's so adamant about playing one way and the players are a little bit reluctant.
Yeah. And so to finish it off with Borussia Dortmund, do you think he'll last to the end of the season?
Given the current form that they're in, no, I don't think he will. But the problem is, who do you bring in his place?
Ancelotti. Redemption time.
Oh, that would be kind of cool, actually. But I think Ancelotti's got the Italian national team job
I think so
on his mind.
I think so too. Maybe that.
Or even AC Milan.
That's what I was going to say. Speaking of AC Milan, let's jump to them quickly, because they bought enough players to basically fill out an entire team sheet.
Yeah, or feed a small country.
Feed a small country, any one of those things. What do you think when that happens? Do you immediately think, okay, in 2 years they'll be where they want to be, or how does it work in that case with so many new faces in the dressing room?
Yeah, I think it's a long-term plan, but you hope that there's going to be short-term success. Just because the guys that you're buying are professionals, they've been around, like Leo Bonucci, right? I think we've seen him have a dip in form when he really shouldn't have one. Yeah, you know, Milan kind of went out of their way to accommodate his needs, and Juve did as well, and all the other stuff that's happening, and you think that would give him that confidence off the field to play well, and it just seems like, all right, the system's a little different. You know, the way that Juventus probably pressured the ball and tried to win it is different than how Milan's doing it. It was clear that Vincenzo Montella wasn't the right guy for the job. I don't know if Gennaro Gattuso is the right guy for the job either, but I'm really interested in seeing how he does.
Oh yeah, it's going to be entertaining.
Yeah, it's going to be a train wreck one way or the other, but hopefully a positive train wreck, because I feel like he was the type of player that demanded a lot of the players around him when he was on the field, and I think he'll do the same as a manager, and I think that's what they need, a little kick in the butt. And I don't know if Montella was doing that enough. I feel like Gattuso's the guy that doesn't care who you are. Yeah. If he sees you in the locker room, he's got something to say, he's gonna light you up. And it doesn't matter who's around or who sees it, the cameras are on, he just doesn't give a shit. And I really like that about him, and I think, for the most part, the players will respond, at least this season. Now, you know, in the next seasons when he's signing players and doing stuff, you know, he might have to curtail his behavior, as it were, to kind of mesh with the personalities on his team. But for now, I think Gattuso's kind of the right guy at the right time. That said, if Ancelotti's available, I think you go and get him. Overall, I think that Milan made some good signings. I like Kessié a lot. Biglia was a nice get from Lazio. Andre Silva, who I like a lot. Andrea Conti, the right back, you know, stealing all of Atalanta's best players, you know. It's always a good Bayern Munich move. Yeah, I like him as well, even though I can't pronounce his name. So there was some good signings all the way around, but yeah, it's going to take some time to get so many different personalities and styles of play thinking the same thing. But Vincenzo Montella, in saying that, did have enough time, and I just didn't think he got enough out of those guys.
No, I don't think so either. So with that being said, with this next transfer window coming up, do you get even more players added into the team? Do you think there's any positions that they need to fill?
I think up top.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't know if Andre Silva is ready to be the guy.
Or Kalinic.
Or Kalinic, yeah. I just don't know if they're ready yet.
Or Crotone.
Or Crotone. Keep going. I would say that if you had a chance to get a Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who's been rumored to be in Milan, and traveling to Italy on a few different occasions.
Big return.
I think you consider getting him. Yeah. If Diego Costa was available, I think having him, even though it's been proven that he's a bit of a handful in the locker room, might be worth it, especially if you have leaders that are already there and a Gattuso and Bonucci on the field and kind of manage him. Then I think it's something you would consider. I still think they need somebody like that, a consistent goal scorer up top. Because right now, as much as it's cool to say, oh, well, Suso scored here, and then Andre Silva scored here, and then maybe Biglia chipped one in, and then Bonaventura got one as well. you still need a guy that's going to give you 15 to 20 every
Yeah.
season, and I just don't think they have that guy.
Part 2 done, and we have Arsenal, Tottenham, and Liverpool to talk about next. So be sure to check out that video as Mr. Mike K will be joining us. Y'all rock, subscribe to Jimmy, and I'll see you later. Bye now.